here's the process. I look for this first, look for this second, and then I could just go through. And maybe you do that enough to where it's like, okay, now I don't have to like check in every time.
Right.
Now I'm starting to see this and process it and see the patterns that I can apply.
Well, I'm still there, but you know.
Just
Actually,
move
I
on from
sold
it.
to, not for my first set, but this
The
next set,
monogram?
the one with the flower on it.
You
Because
sold a
remember,
monogram
two
journal?
of those. I was like, how did people even find that? I don't know, but they did. 2 different letters. And I remember at the beginning, I just had a
That's
plain
fascinating.
cover, and then you were like, they're all flowered. They're all flowered. And I'm like, well, I don't like flowers on it, but I guess people do. So then I went with the what is selling. So I put the flowers on there, and those actually sold.
From selling online for so long, I have been able to separate myself from what the customers want. And I think
That's
that took
important.
you a
Yeah.
long time, which that was probably the most frustrating part for me because you kept on saying like, "Oh, it's a camping journal." There I would want this on a camping journal. I was like, "Well, if you look at the results page, nobody else wants that." Or at least that's not what they're buying. Like make what's here. Like don't
Right.
copy directly what's here. But if they want a camping journal, they're gonna want a tent on there. They're gonna want like camping stuff on there. You put like a boat and a lake, and I was like, nobody like that. Nobody's seeing camping and a boat and a lake. That's your own like personal bias that you're putting
Right.
onto this.
And I
It's
didn't
not going to
understand,
work.
like, well, that's what I think about camping, you know? No, that's not what it is.
But I guess that's a lesson that you learn over time is that like you're you're creating the art, so you obviously are bringing bias to it. How can you at least help yourself by seeing what's working and applying that, like the
Right.
monogram, like you said, you made a whole bunch of monograms. The one that I said, hey, flowers, as far as monograms are concerned, people love flowers, why don't you try flowers? And then you did, and those are the ones that are working because that's what the customer is
Right.
looking for.
Which is kind of like against me, but I was like, okay, if that's what the customers want, then you got to give them what they want, whether I like it or not.
We had a few conversations like that too about just the business, about you liking to do the covers and you liking to, and I was like, it is a business. Like when you're setting up a business, it doesn't matter like your likes, you're trying to provide a service for the customer. So if you're providing a service for the customer, you have to do what the customer wants in order to collect the money. He's not going to pay you for something that you want.
Right.
You would pay for that, but you're not your ideal customer. You're trying to provide something for a customer base that's already out there.
Mm-hmm.
Once you provide that for them, then it was like a case of what to do with that information, how to apply that information, just thinking differently about the process. Because I think it's much easier when you're starting out to go and find areas in the market, which is, this is going to be a little vague and I apologize, but finding areas in the market that are being underserved. This is much easier said than done. But even in the monogram, there are very similar things that you can pick up from those customers. If customers like the monogram journals and they like flowers, like you can take that information and go, probably a lot of people that are buying journals like flowers, and then test that idea into
Of
the market.
yeah.
And I guess that's the part of the business that I like because I'm peppering the market, finding out what works, and then applying that information to other things that I'm doing. And it's a lesson I've learned over 15 years. So it's not something I'd be like, Ma, this is easy. I look at this and I clearly know what I should
Right.
be
I
doing
don't
next. And
see that clear path.
it's a process for you getting started to think about that. And just taking your, like I said, your personal biases out and then just looking at the market very analytical and seeing what you should be doing with that information. The art is something that is very subjective. It's not the part of the business that I'm good at, but as far as like the keywords and how they're searching, that I feel like I was able to help you with.
Yeah, and then it got fun, like to put the keywords and the titles in and then see if I could out, not that outsell, but out get my journal up in front of some
Ranking
journal that's
somebody.
been on there already. And like, oh, cool, look, I can word this in a certain way to like shoot it up there. It's like, cool, I found my journal right away. It's like right on page 1. It's the 3rd book down or 1st book. I was like ahead of the sponsored ads, like, oh my goodness, cool. Let me see what else, what other words can I put in there to get that higher? It's like, cool. Not that it sold the book, but it, you
You're
know, I could
discovering,
find
you're
I could
learning.
manipulate
Yeah,
it.
you're
I was like,
learning and
oh
you're having
wow.
fun while you're learning. that was a fascinating piece for me. But I wanted to just back up right before that. Like, what do you remember what happened for you to gain that understanding of like titling and then being able to look for? Because
Well,
this is something that I keep on struggling with teaching people is like it's so second nature to me that I can't even fathom like where the disconnect is. So from you like asking me all those questions about titles, subtitles, backend keywords to where you were like, oh, if I do this, I can then check here and see how I did.
yeah, it got to be like a game
No, but do
almost.
you remember that turning
Because it was
point?
frustrating. Like, where's my journal at the beginning? Like, where's my stuff? Like, it's buried. I can't even find it on the page that I titled it on. Like, because my titles were so bad, my subtitles were so bad, or my keywords must have been terrible.
So now that you can look back and say they were bad, do you remember what made you think they were bad, or just the understanding piece that like, oh, now I get it. I can
Um,
now put better
More
keywords in
research
it.
and understanding,
And
like
the understanding came from just
looking. Yeah,
doing
definitely.
what? Looking for your book?
Yeah, because or looking at more pages on Amazon because I'm not like an Amazon. I'm not on Amazon. I don't buy things on Amazon. So I was like, I'm not on there as not enough. I wasn't on the pages enough to gather all the information. Like I'd see, oh, these are all yellow or something. But then you'd go to this. You could go to the same page and say, oh, these are all yellow, but look, they all say blah blah blah. Or oh, they have this. Like just to kind of group the things
So
together,
seeing patterns.
seeing patterns
So it's just you
and
needed to.
seeing more patterns, like not knowing enough to catch everything on the first time I'm looking at that page. Because
So
I
I guess
remember
just
when we were doing the research in the beginning, you were like, oh, this is the same book. And like, I was like, what? I don't even remember that. Like, because I'm looking at so much stuff, but not
information
catching all
overwhelmed.
of
Okay,
that.
okay,
Yeah.
okay.
You've done this so much that you're recognizing things. I wasn't recognizing things. But the more you look at it and the more you research and all the rabbit holes that you go down, then you start seeing the patterns and stuff. So I could catch, I was like, oh, I could add that word or add that word, whatever.
So I don't know if it's I can wrap that up by just like, oh, you got to put the time in, but it's your seeing it and being frustrated made you question it and want to figure it out.
Right.
So I
Yes.
think just creating the books and not being able to find them started that frustration. And I think from that frustration, the next thing you were trying to do is just gain understanding.
Definitely.
And the only way that you were able to gain understanding is just by doing
Yes.
more research.
Yes. Because you can't figure it out in doing a set of monogram books. Like that's just 24, which seems like a lot, but it's not, that's not enough information. So you have to just keep persisting and looking at it and putting different books up there and see if those show up, those don't, why not? I mean, figuring that all out. I didn't know exactly everything to look for. So
Yeah, I
after
guess
just
that
doing it a bunch of times.
sense of overwhelm where I'm doing
Mhm.
it and I'm clicking on the stuff and I am so used to seeing that page that my brain can like decipher it very quickly to where you were seeing it but it was like too much information.
Correct.
You were probably seeing the same thing I was seeing but were unable to process it the same way that I was processing it.
Right. Because I didn't even know uh, M, the manufacturers, the rating or whatever.
The BSR,
The BSR, so I don't even know the name of it. But
the
like that,
bestseller rank. Sorry,
yeah,
I should explain.
bestseller ranks, BSR. So that number, at first, like that number didn't even like pop up at me or whatever. That was important to see that number, but with the title and the colors and the styles and the words, everything, it was just like
Way
too
too much.
much information. Yeah. So the more you do it and the more practice you have and the more you put your things up there, then you can see, oh, this is important. Then you got that. Then you add another piece of information that's important. Oh, okay, I got that. And then it's not so
Overwhelming.
overwhelming anymore. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay, because I
To
feel like
me, for me anyway.
that's the part where it's like it's so baked in to me that as soon as I like bring up an Amazon page, like it's already pre-sorted in my
Yeah,
mind.
that's no.
I think that's why we made the Wingman 5-step test. It's like give people at least things to look at and
That
be
was
aware
helpful.
of. But I don't know if it's like preventing people from taking action. Like the taking action takes precedence over the 5-step test. Regardless of what that 5-step test says, you should still take action and test it out. The 5-step test was a way to like help people
That was like a
speed up
guide for me.
the learning process.
I
Yeah.
actually had a column in my sheet. Does it pass the 5-step test? Because it was something for me to look at. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking at the BSR. Oh, I'm supposed to be
Mm.
looking at how many are on the page. Oh, I'm supposed to be looking at the number in the left-hand corner that says, oh, it's 5,000. Oh, don't even go in that category right now because I'm just at the beginning. So go to the one with the less number. You know, you said it's under 1,000, right? So I was like, okay, let's at least stick to these perimeters for now so I can get some books up
It's
in
like
these
training wheels
categories.
almost
Yes,
for
exactly.
this process. And I think maybe it does help with the overwhelm to like sort it out, to go,
Yes.
here's the process. I look for this first, look for this second, and then I can just go through. And maybe you do that enough to where it's like, okay, now I don't have to like check in every time.
Right.
Now I'm starting to see this and process it and see the patterns that I can apply.
Well,
But
I'm still there, but maybe
well, I
after
think you're beyond
10,000
that
books or something.
because you're picking a place that you want to test a product and then being able to show up in that place above a lot of other people because you're starting to understand how to create a listing and get it where you want. Now, where you want might not be the best place for it, but at least you can understand, okay, if I do these things in my listing, it has this effect on where it shows up.
Yes, I did learn that.
That's a huge lesson that I think even a lot of people that are having success in KDP are not really understanding because they're just shotgunning and they just continue to shotgun. But that lesson that you learned is going to help you scale the business so much faster because you're going to go, I wanted to go after it's like reindeer journals. I'm going to title it Reindeer Journal. I'm going to use these keywords in the back end. I'm going to make 20 books going after this. I'm going to see where they fall in the market. Then when I see one that works, I know this is the place that I should be going after because traffic is going there and I'm able to get my books there.
Right.
It's hard to know exactly where the traffic's going because there are tools that will guess at it, but Amazon is the only one that knows the information. They're not going to tell any tools. Tools do some in-house calculations that they are doing. Say a tool like Jungle Scout, they do some in-house calculations. It's not in-house calculations for all the tools. Each tool has their own calculations on traffic coming in. You can't control that part. So that's why we don't really focus on that. We just say, what does the market look like? Is it worth spending time to create something for that market?
Mm.
Is there enough people there? Are there enough competition? Is there enough sales to justify you spending time creating a cover, creating the internals, creating a listing to get a book there? We say yes, then you have to test it. And then even when you test it, it's not like, oh, I want my book to show up here. That's exactly where it shows up. Now I'm done. It's you still have to test where that book is showing up. You create the listing, you're trying to go after Reindeer Journal. It didn't quite go after Reindeer Journal. Some reason you landed on like Hanukkah celebration journal. It's like something weird. It's like, okay, I shot for this, but I missed it. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
I keep shooting, I can kind of dial it in and know where I'm going to be landing. That process, I think, is extremely beneficial because you can use that more than KDP. Because now, if I ask you to make a bundle, you'd be able to go, oh, okay, I know kind of where I want this bundle to show up. Now I kind of know the keywords that I
Well,
have to make.
yeah.
I would
I've
almost
got
try
a
to do
little
that.
small understanding of
Well, you can see the market and know kind of what keywords to use to get yourself there.
it. Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't make like maybe the bundle thing is a long strap, but if I had headphones and a microphone, you wouldn't say like, oh, that's a food bundle. You'd
Right.
be like,
Oh, right.
those are not the keywords. I know it's something to do with microphone. I know it's something to do with headphones. Who are the customers using that for? Is it gaming? Is it broadcasting? Like you'd be able to go, okay, these are the type of keywords. Let me look at those places and then determine if I should be going after that or not. That's what you're doing with the books.
Yeah.
You're having an idea and then doing research and seeing if it's worth going after.
Right.
And I think that's why you're having more success now from just the ideas that you have because you know what to do with those ideas.
Yeah.
Whereas before you had a lot of ideas, but you was just like, I don't know what the next
Right.
step is.
And I kind of switched to what my interests were to what I saw was a small niche that I could sell in.
So more than just a monogram.
Yeah.